publicly speaking about how he wanted to narrow this race, and he's gotten his first win.
I said your name right. I don't even remember how I said it. Now I'm like, Gino.
She's gotten Eric Adams out of this race.
But
now he's going through acceptance. And what I've been really excited by is the endorsements, like you said, Sonny, from not only Governor Hochul, not only from Majority Leader of the State Senate Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, Attorney General Tish James that we were just speaking about, but also the fact that I wouldn't be sitting here with you if it was endorsements that made all of the difference. It was.
God, he has so much patience. He just, every interview I see of him, he always has this, he's always positive. He is so endlessly patient. See, you know what? It's like, I couldn't run for office. Honestly, I could not, because I would just be a fucking bitch all the time. I would just, and I know that this is not the only way, the Zohran, like, unshakable, endlessly patient, super positive. I know it's not the only way, but obviously this has been so effective for him in this race. And it's how he went from, you know, he went from like pretty much a nobody, a long shot, to he's going to be the fucking mayor. I would just lose my shit.
But Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are trying to win the midterms, win back the House and the Senate for Democrats. So why specifically do you think they're hesitant to endorse you?
You know, I can't speak to their thoughts and their interest in this. What I can tell you, however, is that what we have built in this city.
I'd be like, because they're the fucking opposition, just like you piece of shit. And then flip my hair.
Is also an indication of what politics can be. You know, oftentimes after the November general election, we heard that young people were leaving the Democratic Party. They were getting disinterested in politics. And we built a campaign where we said, what if we treated them with respect and not condescension? What if we asked them what they needed in the city? We made the top 3 highest performing age groups all under the age of 35. That's something that we haven't seen in the city before. That needs to be at the heart of our politics across the country. Thank you.
He's just a smile, and he's just got his answers down. He's got his answers down. He's really good at it. He is. It's very good. Around to like, hey, I am running to be mayor of New York City, which means that I will be fighting for every single New Yorker. And he also is always reaffirming his vehement, calling out of the genocide that is occurring, and the affirming the humanity of Palestinians. Do you know what's just so obnoxious too is how New York is an incredibly diverse city. Incredibly diverse. And yet his Muslim constituents are never considered. It's always like, well, what about Jewish New Yorkers who love Israel? And that is always, that's the only people that and that's why he does a really good job of being like, look, there's a lot of people who live in New York City, very diverse. Black people, white people, Jewish people, Muslim people, Asian people, old, young, gays, like just always bringing it back to, I am running to be mayor of New York City. And that means that I am running to make a better New York City for every person who lives here. Yeah. Her being like, I disagree with you, as if they were disagreeing over like how to handle public transportation versus like him saying, I think everyone deserves dignity. I disagree with you. I actually don't think that every single human being deserves dignity. I disagree. It's the same energy as difference of political opinions. And it's like, oh, we're talking about people's humanity. Okay. Okay. What about Jewish New Yorkers? Yeah, they're perfectly welcome here. I mean, what kind of question is that? It's grotesque.
You've become the new
It's so gross, and it just continues to try and it's a continuation of just always trying to steer the conversation to be about, oh, but poor Israel. Oh, but what about Jewish people in your city? Which again is also assuming every single Jewish person is Zionist, is pro-Israel. I have plenty of Jewish friends in New York who are anti-Zionist. They have been volunteering on Zohran Mamdani's campaign, but that's what it is too. It's the same of like, oh, well, all Jewish people support Israel, obviously. So that's why they're always like, what about your Jewish constituents? What about your Jewish constituents? Because they're never going to specify and be like, what about your Zionist constituents? What about people in New York City who support Israel, who believe that Israel must be allowed to continue doing what they're doing? And then why are feelings more valuable than lives? Yep. Gotta consider someone's fifis who lives in New York City, well away from what is happening in Gaza and in the West Bank. You know? What about this person's fifis? That's what's most important. Rather than all the human lives that are being snuffed out, let's consider these feelings of people who aren't even there. Jathbrisk, thank you for the 2 months. Easy, thank you for the 21 months. Alan Jazira, thank you for the prom. Dank, thank you for the bits. Zacharot, thank you for the 2 months. Krampus, thank you for the prime. Gino, thank you for the tier 1. Oh, fuck The View. I'm so... just fuck
You
it.
poster child in some ways for the GOP. Donald Trump's obviously excited for you to be in the race. Even members of your own party, like Leader Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, both New Yorkers, have been reluctant to endorse you. Kamala Harris gave what I would call sort of a tepid endorsement. Why do you think members of your own party have been hesitant to embrace you at this juncture?
The governor of New York, though, endorsed.
Because they're ops.
She did. And what I would say is that Donald Trump is going through the stages of grief. First, it was denial. And he was trying to do everything he could. He was looking at polling. He was calling Cuomo. He was...
There's just a lot of considerations being a Muslim running for the office that he's running for. Of course, they asked him if he was a communist.
Every single hour, the Israeli military killing a Palestinian child for close to 2 years. And it's a horror that many New Yorkers feel so deeply. And my job, I can't stop that as the mayor of this city. I can make clear my own values, my own commitments. And it is a value and a commitment to humanity, to safety, to justice for all people that extends to everyone, Israelis, Palestinians, and everyone else across the world.
And recognizing that people do disagree with you.
Absolutely.
I am one of those people on some of these points.
Absolutely. And that you're disagreeing with me.
You know what? No, you don't get to be like, I disagree with you in this, and you're a fucking genocider, okay? Girl, who asked? Who cares? I don't care about you. Who cares about you? What are you running for? Who the fuck are you? Somebody on The View? Who gives a shit?
Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in this city or you shouldn't be celebrated and part of the city that I'm trying to lead. And I think that's the other part of growing up as a New Yorker, learning that disagreement and difference is part of what it means to be here. And I want to be a mayor, not just for the people who voted for me, not just for the people who agree with me, but every New Yorker. And that means that if a New Yorker disagrees with me about Israel, I'm still fighting for them to make sure that they can afford this city, be safe in this city, and see the city as their home.
Also, that witch is not voting for him anyway. She's voting for Cuomo. She probably wasn't going to vote for him just on the mere fact that he's Muslim. I'm just going to say it, okay? I'm just going to say it. The fact that he's Muslim already. It's like, no, I'd rather vote for the sex pest. Nope. Because somebody like her, I can say with certainty, is fucking racist. And that's why she doesn't That's why she's over here like, I'm disagreeing with you over the humanity of Palestinians. Like, that's what it comes down to. She's a racist piece of shit. So I feel sure of the fact that she wouldn't have voted for him in the first place. She's like, ooh, a Muslim in this country? I don't think so. I don't think so. Ugh. That's really heroic. And so they think maybe they'll watch this and be like, dang, look at all these things Andrew Cuomo's doing in this video. Oh, God. Oh, God. He's just a dog. Even if you can convince them it's AI, they just go, well, I still think the dog is cute. Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Even when you go, this isn't real, they'll still work it into being, they're like, it doesn't matter. It could be real. It could be real. It still made me feel good. Or if it's something like fake news they fall for and they're like, well, this, what does it mean that this could be real? It's real to me. That's all that matters. That's what it is, right? The it's real to me mentality. So who cares otherwise? It should be real. It should be real. God damn it. It should be real. Taylor released a really interesting, I saw that. We definitely won't get to that today, but at some point. Oh, okay. Here's Zohran's new ad.
You deserve better. You deserve to be able to raise your family here, to be safe, to travel where you need to, free of costs and worry. You deserve someone who works as hard as you do, who thinks about you every second of the day. That's the kind of mayor I promise to be. New York.
The Bachelor!
Will you accept this rose?
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
You can't even compare. You cannot even compare the quality difference, the vibe difference, the everything difference. And may I remind you, Andrew Cuomo has way more money in his campaign coffers than Zohran does. Andrew Cuomo has billionaires backing him. He has like major Democratic Party politicians backing him. Like he has plenty of money. And the best that they can do is this shit. Not to mention just the difference between the two candidates alone. People were stopping on the street to express their support. The vibes were immaculate for Zohran. Yeah, and it's like, look, I know people are like, oh, Zohran, he said this, blah, 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 blah. Zohran is still leagues better than this piece of shit. This piece of shit who's like, I'm not a sex pest. I'm just Italian. Come on. I do this with everybody. Men, women. Sex pesto. Yeah, so you cook the spaghetti for 10 minutes and then throw that sex pesto on top of it. Throw that sex pesto on top of it. You see the View trying to press
You're running for mayor of New York and not prime minister of Israel, but you've made inflammatory...
and yet, I know you're running for New York City, which is not Israel. And yet, this is the most important question. Honestly, the only question that you need to answer to. The only important thing, the only thing that needs to be considered here, that the people need to know about, that you need to concern yourself with, is Israel, because you are running to be mayor of New York City.
Statements like calling Israel an apartheid state and questioning its
so
right
annoying.
to exist as a Jew.
They're so fucking annoying. They are so annoying. So obnoxious. These people suck.
Jewish state. Just this week, you were evasive with a reporter about condemning Hamas. Given New York has the largest Jewish population.
Oh my God, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're so back. We've all, not that we ever left. Not that we ever left, but oh my God. 2 fucking years. 2 years. Do you condemn hummus? 2 years into a genocide. Asking the mayor, asking someone running to be the mayor of New York City.
Outside of Israel. Why should voters who see this as a moral red line trust your clarity and judgment?
Well, I really appreciate this question, an opportunity to just clear up, I think, a number of misconceptions. You know, first and foremost, you're right. I am running to be the mayor of the city, and this city will be the focus of my administration, ensuring that we make this a city everyone can afford and everyone knows that they belong to.
Okay, but are you immediately going to visit Israel? When are you going to Israel? Are you going to visit Israel? What are you going to do for Israel?
And also, millions of New Yorkers, myself included, care deeply about what's happening in Israel and Palestine. And so to be very, very clear, of course I condemn Hamas. Of course I've called October 7th what it was, which is a horrific war crime.
Oh my
and of
God.
course, my belief in a universality in international law is also the same set of beliefs that have led me to describe what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. Because what we see, what we see is
Honestly, this is the, like, this is because he's running to be mayor. Like, you know, it's the standard of, first and foremost, condemning hummus, condemning the violence on October 7th. It's weaving through the bullshit. I know. And look, it's like people have been critical and just Zohran is he was never ever going to be a perfect candidate. Nobody is. Nobody's a perfect person. But this is strategic. This is obviously something that his team are like, this is what has to be done, I guess. And he is still so far and away. Like, it's not even a consideration. It's not even a consideration between him and Cuomo, and then him and, like, pretty much everyone who's in Congress, you know, and then him compared to, like, everyone else in New York too. It's just exhausting. And you know what? I'm fucking sick and tired of The View. I'm sick and tired of the media. I'm sick and tired of this shit.
A war crime being answered with war crimes. And what we see is...
He's playing it smart and clever. He can't go full on, I'm the new Mao Zedong who will bring about communism too. Yeah, and it's him being Muslim too. You know, there's just a lot of... Anyone that has a problem with this answer is feeling a bubble. He plays the game that he needs to with the condemning and then immediately restates that it is a genocide and what his values are. Yeah, and I think, you know what? He does a really good job always of bringing this back up. I would just snap all the time. Okay. He's amazing at bringing it right back to the core issues of his campaign. He is. He's on his P's and Q's. He is so focused. Just never gets tripped up. Over 60% of New Yorkers want Jeffries and Schumer out of office. Who gives a fuck if they're not endorsing Zohran? Why would you want Jeffries out of office? How else are we going to get sternly worded letters? You think someone else can come in and write a sternly worded letter and do nothing else? You think someone can do better than Jeffries? Zohran winning the Dem primary is almost exactly how I would have seen Bernie winning the 2016 or 2020 primary. If Bernie won, the establishment would do the same thing. Wary to endorse, trying to spoil his campaign, being closed behind closed doors even more so than they actively did both times he ran. I was about to be like, nah, I mean, they did that. But yeah, if he somehow had still won the primary, they would have been doing everything possible to oppose. Cutie McBitty, thank you for the gifted. Mia, thank you for the prime. Helium Tree, thank you for the prime. He also said, say it to my face after Trump paraded a Trump 2028 hat in front of him and he didn't do shit. No, he's so tough. So tough. Okay, next story. This is a follow-up to when we covered this a couple days ago. Emma Watson went on Jay Shetty's podcast, and this is like the first time that she's really spoken publicly and openly just about her retirement from acting, what it was like, talking Harry Potter and they had a really long conversation. And the one part in particular that was reported on heavily and now has resulted in J.K. Rowling continuing to show the world what a piece of shit she is, was when Emma Watson talked about everything that happened with J.K. Rowling. And ultimately, she was like, I still treasure Jo. She called her Jo. She's like, I still treasure her and like the memories I have. I was a young girl when I met her and she meant a lot to me. And it was like Emma Watson was like giving grace to J.K. Rowling and basically being like, I still care about her and she still means something to me. And J.K. Rowling responded to that. J.K. Rowling responded to that with a couple of reposts on Twitter that were mocking Emma Watson. And then she posted this very lengthy tweet. Very, very lengthy tweet. Let me scroll down and find it. Not that one. Okay. I have so many things bookmarked. Here we go. And before I read this tweet, just a reminder that this is why you cannot negotiate with bigots. You cannot try to have this expectation that if you extend grace to transphobes like J.K. Rowling, that grace will be extended back, that like there's any purpose in doing this, because you give them an inch and they take the whole mile, in that their purpose is always going to be ensuring that their hateful beliefs is what wins out. So J.K. Rowling doesn't give a flying fuck that Emma Watson was being nice about her on this podcast with Jay Shetty, that Emma Watson was kind of like extending an olive branch to be like, I still care about you, even though we obviously disagree on this. J.K. Rowling only further sunk her claws into the hate that has blackened her soul, also the mold, because that is what people like this ultimately are. And this is how... This is why, at the end of the day, we don't negotiate with terrorists, okay? if you think that a display of kindness like this is going to mean something to someone who is so warped by her hatred for trans people, then I'm sorry to tell you that you will be sorely disappointed. So here's what J.K. Rowling tweeted. I'm seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. Okay, you could have just ended it there. You could have ended it there because the actors who played the characters you've created, they don't talk shit about you. They have disagreed with you. They have firmly disagreed with you publicly by stating things like trans women are women, trans people are human beings and deserving of rights. Like they have clearly countered the comments and the things you've done, but they are not like Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Daniel Radcliffe, but especially Emma. They have not come out and been like, fuck you, J.K. Rowling. It's not like they don't really talk about her. But because they are standing up, they have stood up for trans rights, for trans lives, J.K. Rowling takes that personally. She takes that personally as an attack on her. As it's a personal affront to her because she's so crazy in her hatred of trans people. So the fact that she starts off and says, I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. Actually, I think you do feel that way. And I think that's why you got so mad. I think you got so pissed off and said you won't forgive Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson for their stance on trans people. She had said celebs who cheer on the transitioning of minors can save their apologies. Okay. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work or violence or death because of them. Why do I feel like by saying that she's actually being like, I would love to see them threatened with loss of work, violence, and death? However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay, obligation to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world that I created. Okay, so this is funny because basically what she's saying is the only reason they spoke out and said what they said about trans lives and trans people is because they think that they are spokespeople for Harry Potter, which I made, rather than like they said those things because not only do they believe it, but also because the person who did create the roles that they became famous for, that like they have an association with, is one of the biggest public transphobes out there, is the person who is using her billions that she made from creating this world that they, that gave them their careers, all this money that she made to strip liberties from trans people, to like make their lives a living hell. So yeah, I think it makes sense that they would publicly speak out, not just because they also believe those things, that they would stand on that no matter what, but because of the association and because of the harm that J.K. Rowling has been, has been committing. Her stressing that their beliefs are legally protected makes me think that if she had it her way, no one would have the right to disagree with her. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, continuing on. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of J.K. Rowling. Really? Because you've been doing a lot of fuck-ass shit on the side. J.K. Rowling is the queen of passive aggressiveness. Maybe she has not specifically been like, Emma Watson's a bitch, but she sure has made it known that she does not fuck with them. She said that she insinuated she won't forgive them because of what they said. So now she's trying to act like I've been the bigger person here. I have been asked 1,000,000 times by journalists to comment on Emma Watson, and I have said nothing. It's like, really, J.K. Rowling? Because we see all your subtweets, we see your retweets, we see your comments that you make that clearly are about Emma and the others. You think you're the bigger person here? That's crazy. That's so crazy. You narcissistic fuck. I told the producers that I didn't want her, Emma Watson, to be hounded as the result of anything I said. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth, that was a turning point for me. But it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Here's
signs
the moment.
too that things are shifting. When you see the media starting to say trans women are men, then I think we really are winning. But Emma Watson.
Oh wait, no, this isn't it. Let me get the Emma Watson all witches. Okay, Emma Watson, this was at the BAFTAs. And all she said was, this is what she said, okay? Rebel Wilson introduced her and said, our next presenter is Emma Watson. She's proud to call herself a feminist, but we all know she's a witch. Watson's response when she stood in front of the podium was, I'm here for all of the witches. That's what she said.
I'm here for all of the witches.
That's it. Which people took to mean that she is here for, right? Like a trans witch is a witch, right? Trans women are women. Trans people deserve, trans people are people. Emma Watson saying I'm here for all the witches was absolutely a big middle finger to J.K. Rowling. I couldn't love her more for it. So, okay, whatever. That was the line. I'm here for all the witches. So this is what J.K. Rowling is saying was the turning point for her. So how come? Okay, hold on a second. How come Emma Watson, who also has not mentioned J.K. Rowling's name until the interview with Jay Shetty when he asked her about J.K., and what she said was, I still treasure Joe. Like, she basically was like, I am conflicted because on the one hand, I obviously don't agree with what she says and what she's doing, but I have all of these wonderful memories with her and I love her still and blah, blah, blah. So how come that Emma just says things like, I'm here for all the witches or trans people are people, and J.K. Rowling sees that as an attack on her, and yet she's also going to stand here and be like, I have never said anything about them because to me, they were the children who I had to like help through their dialogue. These were my babies. these were my babies and I tried to protect them still. And I never comment on them. And I wanted people to leave Emma alone. I didn't want her to be hounded. And it's like, you have been saying shit that so clearly is about them. You are so shady. You're always retweeting bullshit. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the hypocrisy here of her being like, Emma has personally attacked me when she says things like, I'm here for all the witches. And yet I have never personally attacked her. I have just been like subtweeting and shady and all that she does. I've seen someone speculate that she targets Emma so much because she wrote Hermione as a self-insert and hates that people like Emma more than JK. Interesting. I also wonder, too, if it just in general has to do with Emma being the woman of the trio, you know, where JK, because JK Rowling views herself as the actual feminist. Emma Watson, who has outside of her acting work became known for like her activism, for really caring about like feminist causes, you know, always calling herself a feminist. JK Rowling in her twisted, moldy brain, JK Rowling believes that she's actually the true feminist because she in all of her transphobia believes that she's protecting real women. That's what this is, you know? And so I think it's the Hermione thing, but also I think just Emma being a woman, you know, and the one woman in the trio of the three. And I think I think she has a special hatred for her. I think she does. Okay, continuing on in this long ass response. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth, that was a turning point for me. But it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained the single sentence, "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She has my phone number." This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. Oh my God, she is so warped. She's so fucking warped. That Emma, and again, you know what? As I said, I get it's complicated when it's someone that you look at as family, okay? When it's someone that you look at as family and you are on two different sides because of one person's bigotry, and you're trying to like sort through a lot of complicated things. But this is a reminder that in continuing to try and offer someone grace and be like, hey, you know, like trying to be the bigger person, be compassionate and considerate as Emma Watson has tried, that can be just spit back in your face. And JK Rowling is like queen transphobe. She is, I don't even like to use the word queen. She is, this is not just your aunt at the dining table on Thanksgiving. This is somebody who is a billionaire who uses her fame, her considerable wealth, her influence, her power to harm trans people. So it's not just your transphobic aunt or mom or dad or whoever else in your family that is, you know, that is causing harm to you as an individual. This is someone who's causing harm to a lot of people. And because she's so wealthy, she's using that to bankroll, to literally bankroll transphobia into legislation, anti-trans legislation. She also acts like trans people don't get all those types of threats and that we don't. I know. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You've gotten death, rape, and torture threats, you say, because of your transphobia. Do you consider what you have wrought on to the trans community of what trans people deal with on a daily basis? On like, it's not just threats. It's not just threats. It's actual concrete harm. And then also maybe just don't be a fucking transphobic bitch. Don't be a transphobe. Stop it. Stop. Enough. Okay, continuing on. Like other people who have never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life that she is ignorant of how ignorant she is. Gross. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going. It's the same fucking blindness that I see with Zionists who like say that letter recently that that Zionists in Hollywood, like Debbie Messing signed, where they're so mad that a bunch of famous people took a pledge to boycott Israeli film institutions that are complicit in the genocide. And they're like, wow, what about our shared humanity? What about like, why are we being collectively punished? It's like, how do you not recognize that that is what's happening to the Palestinian people? That you support these things that are being done to the people of Palestine in the same way that J.K. Rowling now is so blinded in this quest of ensuring that trans people can't exist. She's so warped by this hatred that she's saying things like, Emma will never need a homeless shelter. Emma is never going to have to experience. Can you not apply that to the experience that a lot of trans people have, what their day-to-day lives are? Do you not think that there are not trans people in shelters, that there are not trans people who are experiencing crushing difficulties in being alive? It's because same thing as Zionists towards Palestinians, it's a lack of seeing people as human beings. It is, no, I simply can never consider that because I do not consider you to be a full human being. I don't. When you do not view a group of people as humans deserving of rights, then you will never consider you will never consider this hypocrisy. You will never consider like, oh, hey, maybe that applies to this group of people who I'm actively trying to oppress. That there's no there's no awareness here. There's no awareness. And that's how you know that someone like J.K. Rowling truly operates by just dehumanizing, and in that dehumanizing also paints herself as the victim. She dehumanizes an entire community of people, entire group of people, and then is also like, I am the victim. TERFs like Rowling legit believe that trans people have outsized influence and power in society. It's absurd. Right. Just like, oh, Free Palestine is now trendy. It's now trendy in Hollywood that the Palestine people have all the power now. It's like, I wish. JK also completely ignores that Emma was harassed. Yes. Okay. That's a point I wanted to make too. So it is fucking gross for JK Rowling to be like, let me finish this paragraph and then I'll make this point. Okay. Emma will never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed sex public hospital ward. I'll be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard against outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed sex changing room at a crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service to find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison? Okay, so couple things. Emma Watson, when she was about to turn 18, there was a countdown for it, just like there are for a lot of teenage girls in Hollywood, where there's a countdown to them turning 18 and therefore being legal. Same thing that happened with Millie Bobby Brown. This is a commonality. It's fucking disgusting, where young girls who become famous young, there is a countdown to them reaching legal age. Also with Emma Watson, she had to deal with paparazzi. They would slide under bathroom stalls, try to take pictures of her up her skirt, like literally lying on the ground to take pics up her skirt. Sorry, not I shouldn't say specifically bathroom stalls, but like, yes, they would lie on the ground to try and get shots up her skirt. So Emma has certainly dealt with a lot of trauma and abuses, and just being a young girl in a very exploitative industry is going to bring it's going to bring so many issues to that person. Just what they have to deal with. Emma is retired from acting. Like in that in the interview that she had with Jay Shetty, she was talking a lot about mental health and just like how she had to navigate so much and yada yada. So it's really fucked up for J.K. Rowling to act as if Emma Watson, a person who became famous when she was a child, who was just thrown into the entertainment industry, which has a long history of exploiting women, exploiting children, exploiting vulnerable people. And then J.K. Rowling's going to act as if everything was all fine and dandy for Emma Watson, that she never had to deal with anything. She doesn't know. She has no idea, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the other thing is this paragraph and the clear anger that J.K. Rowling is exhibiting, something that I think is at the root of a lot of cis women who are transphobic is, I think it is the trauma that cisgender men have committed towards them. I think it is when misandry can reach this point of not like being anti-men, but it can warp into this transphobia as a result of harms that cis men cause in this world. No, it's not an excuse. I'm not saying it's an excuse. It's something, though, that I have seen repeatedly where it's like, so I hear through the words you are saying, whether it's J.K. Rowling or other women that I have heard, speak similarly, express, be transphobic. And what it seems to be, I mean, I'm not saying this is just entirely it. But it does seem to be this harm and trauma from being a woman in this world who has been exploited and abused by cisgender men, but rather than recognize that, it turns into this hatred and therefore this quest for vengeance by going after trans people. And with J.K. Rowling, who will specifically too, even though the legislation that she is backing hurts all trans people, she talks a lot about trans women who she and transphobes will just say are men, right? Trans women to transphobes are men. That's what they say. And so they unleash all of their everything and have this belief that they are like protecting women and standing up for women's rights by making sure that men can't be in women's prisons, or that men can't be in women's bathrooms. Like that's kind of just trying to unwrap this transphobia here. I mean, it is truly something. It's truly something that rots your brain and your soul and your heart, because it's just hatred. And a lot of times it's just, and it's not an excuse. I'm trying to explain. It's completely misplaced hatred, and it is like blaming the wrong people. It is taking out on the wrong people, because trans people do not have institutional power. Trans people do not have societal power. And so they are vulnerable, and it is easy to scapegoat the trans community and to go after them and to feel like you are doing something. Trauma is definitely linked to TERF's identity. A friend of mine has a trans sister. When she was harassed at a bar, their mom said, "I thought you wanted to be a girl." And it's like, look, the reason that it's never an excuse is because we all have trauma. We all have trauma. I'm a woman in this world. I have been sexually assaulted. I have been sexually harassed. I have been abused. I have to deal with so much shit on a daily basis. And yet I know enough. I have enough compassion, awareness, understanding, etc., to not turn around and go, you know what? Trans people, that's my enemy. And that is who I'm going to spend all my time and energy going after, because that's going to fix things, or that's going to be like, I'm going to be able to get justice for myself and for other women and other abused people in this world by like going after a community of people who are such a, first of all, small percentage of the population, and yet I have an outsized amount of hate in my heart for them. And especially when trans people are disproportionately harmed, it's like, man, trans people are also victims of sexual violence. In fact, disproportionately, because they're so vulnerable, because they are on the, on the fringes of a society that doesn't give a shit about them. So, especially, black trans people, sex workers, like you just start adding in these extra layers of who is disproportionately harmed in our society. And it's like, I'm sorry, J.K. Rowling, but you, yes, you are a woman in this world, but you are white. You are a billionaire. You have enormous privileges. It doesn't mean that you haven't had hardships. It doesn't mean that you have not been the victim of abuse, but you still are enormously privileged. And the people that you are harming every single day, that you will not stop in this sick quest of yours, are so significantly less privileged than you are. Yes, she's a billionaire. Yes. She just needs to shut the fuck up. Unfortunately, though, it's not just shutting the fuck up, because it's not just words. It's not just that J.K. Rowling, as I said, J.K. Rowling is not just your awful aunt in your family who's like, well, trans people, I don't get it. J.K. Rowling, because she's a billionaire, because she is famous, because she just has a lot of power, is able to actively cause harm, material harm, and not just like say, not just like say hurtful things to the trans people in her family. She is bankrolling political organizations. She is bankrolling, using her name to get legislation passed. So, yes, would love for J.K. Rowling to shut the fuck up, but also would love for J.K. Rowling to stop using her enormous resources to cause material harm. To cause material harm to people who are very vulnerable and just to begin with, and are simply just trying to exist. And that existence is made all the harder because of people like J.K. Rowling. It's a persecution complex despite being like more powerful than any other subgroup than male billionaires. Right. It's your woman identity does not overshadow then everything else. It does not mean that you being white, you being a billionaire, you being, having a lot of influence is not a part of things here. But I think that's how she views it. Like she really does view herself as the ultimate victim. Okay, unfortunately this shit is still not done, so let me finish reading it. I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. Okay. Can we talk about real issues? Nobody cares about J.K. Rowling. Don't give her attention she doesn't deserve. I don't know if you didn't listen to me for the last 15 minutes, but these are real issues. People do care about J.K. Rowling. The reason that she gets attention is because she is a billionaire who is actively funding legislation that is passing and that is stripping trans people of their liberties. This is not some random person on the internet who I'm like, can you believe this piece of shit? This is a billionaire who has endless resources and is using those resources, is using that power to harm people actively. So this is this is important. Like this is this is also a broader conversation. It started off with Emma Watson going on that podcast and talking about J.K. Rowling, and then it's rolled into this. And so I will tell you what I tell people who don't understand, that you might look at this and think like, this is just celebrity news. You might go, this is just pop culture. Who cares? If you don't see the ties that this has to what is our entire world, what affects people on a daily basis, that this intersects, that what's happening in these like celebrity and pop culture worlds does not exist in a vacuum and does not have it does not have an effect on the real world. One reason too that I will often approach issues through this lens is because this is how a lot of people can understand things, and this is how they form their opinions, and this is how they get they get news. This is how they come to believe the things they do. So J.K. Rowling has been influencing a lot of normies, a lot of normal people, because she is such a big pop culture figure, because she has a lot of followers. And so they're not reading books. They're not like learning about trans people from non-pop culture sources of information. They're learning it from somebody like J.K. Rowling. They are forming their opinions, which then is affecting like their political, right? Like these are their political beliefs, who they may be voting for if they when they go to the polls, who they're voting for. This is because of the influence of someone like JK. Okay, so back to her saying I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. So this is a funny thing that she's done her entire life. So the story goes that everyone, for the most part, if you were a Harry Potter fan, if you just know anything about J.K. Rowling's life, that she was a broke single mother who was writing Harry Potter on napkins. And then it's a rags to riches story. And then she wrote one of the most successful books series of all times and became a billionaire. Like truly a rags to riches story. Okay. Yes, J.K. Rowling was broke. It was because she got divorced and because she had to go out and find a job and was struggling to find a job. And like, that's not something that I scoff at. I'm not like, oh, haha, wow, I'm sure it was hard. That's a lot of single mothers' realities. Is suddenly they find themselves without an income, right? No financial stability, and they have young children that they're raising, that they're responsible for, and they have to try and find work. And it is it is the reality for a lot of people. But JK like gets kind of, she's being tricky with her wording here. She did not grow up in poverty. She was not born poor. She was middle class. JK Rowling was middle class. So she's trying to do the whole like, I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14, and then going into this, like segueing into I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. She's making it sound like she was poor her entire life. No, she was raised middle class. It was when she was an adult, after she got divorced, she was a single mom. She was, having to go out and find work and raise her baby. And she does this thing that a lot of rich people love to do, which is to forever wealthy people who kind of love to LARP as having been poor. I'm not saying that she was doing this here. I am saying she's making it sound like she was born poor, that she was born into like dirt. But wealthy people LARPing being poor, or I don't know, kind of like romanticizing it. It's a way of like, I'm just like you. Yeah. So she's trying to claim plausible deniability. See, for example, how many people don't realize her first transphobic essay was violently anti-trans men. Yeah. This is also part of her being like, I'm a victim. I was poor, and look at look at all these things I did, and this Emma Watson will never know, and yet she has the fucking nerve to act as if she knows better than me. It's just more of the victim complex. Correct. The whole story about how she wrote Harry Potter on napkins is horseshit hyperbole. She has rarely admitted to. She wrote down some ideas while drinking tea in some cafes, but was otherwise typing out the manuscript at home exactly how you'd expect. Yes. JK has made it sound like she was like truly living on the streets and would sit at cafes, couldn't afford anything, and would use the napkins at cafes and scribbled out the entire Harry Potter story. It has absolutely been exaggerated. And again, I don't want to take away from like the difficult realities of being a single mother and having to try and find work in a world that rejects rejects women who have children, especially if they're single, if they don't have, if they don't have a partner. But I think she does this too because it gives her a shield, because she uses this as part of her victim complex, that she's like, I'm perpetually persecuted. I'm perpetually persecuted. And she's trying to compare herself to Emma Watson and be like, Emma was a millionaire at 14 and I was poor when I was writing Harry Potter. As an adult, though. As an adult, you're being